Today, I'm going to read a letter I wrote to a friend who needs to remember where they come from, and they are more than likely a friend of many of yours. Dear Anonymous, I tried to be an open man and understand. I tried to turn a blind eye to the manipulation which is programmed into you, which now bills you. Dear Anonymous, there's something wrong with this. A big book setting out practices I see as rules dictating how we're supposed to live. Forget that, because I'm autonomous and I don't want to miss out on all that can grow and feed my mind by blindly giving my will and my powerlessness to the pages that bind. Not just a book, but millions that are still dying and painting over their defects with a different color this time. I have a hard time witnessing them speak of their so-called etiquette. If it makes me a heretic with my stance, so be it. Let them sing their song, but they can't have this dance. People need to take a chance and step out of the bubble and see that it wasn't supposed to be like this. Or is it just me whose stomach turns and wandering mind yearns for them to be done with their memorized speech and their brand new catchphrase, meant to catch praise, feeding their ego a meal which will last days. But through this black haze, there's always that odd one that impacts me. There was this one day, a lady opened up, stood at the mic, and I absorbed what she had to say. Her face bagged and tired, her clothes were fray. She breathed in and said, "Sorry, give me a moment before I share, I always pray." Her eyes closed for a second, and when they opened, tears flowed down her face. Her half smile replaced her pouting lips, but I was not fooled. What was seemingly peaceful was displaced. She spoke with a heavy voice. "My name is Mary, I'm an addict and a disgrace." As the robotic voices repeated her name, my head cocked to the side, I was silent. I felt the same. The butterflies in my stomach became violent. My chest was knotted as I empathetically took on the blame she placed on herself, but that was okay. Sweet Mary, it's gonna be okay. My eyes welled up as the couple beside me snickered. Whispers echoing through the room. I just couldn't understand how these people figured it was okay to ignore this lady standing in pieces in front of us, courageously taking the floor in a way that I admired. She spoke of her life, a life that was tattered and torn from the day that she was born. What was worse, though, was the conversation she had that very day. The amends she tried to make with her estranged son that she hadn't seen in years. For the first time since their falling out, they stood face to face. "My beautiful son," she said, "I am so sorry for all my mistakes." He replied, "Mom, I despise you." "You don't mean that," Mary said. "Mom, when will you realize you ruined my life, my sister's life, my brother's life? When my father's life ended, you pretended he was still there, and you showed us no care. We were left alone to fend for ourselves. I raised them myself, so it's too late, so walk away, face your fate, and be alone. I wish for your demise, Mom. I hate you. I don't care if you're murdered or die a slow death. I hope the devil takes you, ties you up, burns you, beats you, and rapes you for the rest of your life to eternity. That's the only reason why I came, Mom, to tell you this and say your name, Mom, one last time. Goodbye." That hit me hard. It broke my heart. In those short moments, I loved her. Even for a minute, I wish I could have absorbed her pain, relieving her from the violent storm forming above her. When she finished and returned to her chair, I realized these people either didn't listen or didn't care, or both. Then, a 60-something-year-old man walked up to the mic, his nose pointed in the air. It was like he was a celebrity. People laughing, cheering as if they were adhering to his holier-than-thou presence. They might as well have bowed to their Messiah and his all-knowing essence. He spoke, starting with a joke that was as funny as it was genuine. After I choked that down, he went on to say, as he suddenly glanced Mary's way, "Need I remind you, we introduce ourselves as alcoholics, and only alcoholics. Anything else, leave it to the other guys. While the other guys are welcome in, respect our fellowship, please, and thank you. Now I'll begin." Then he introduced himself. His name I forgot within seconds. "Why are we here?" he said. "What's make this fellowship of ours work? Believe me when I say this, my friends, believe I'm fully sincere. If you're not speaking about the 12 steps, let's make this very clear. If you're not speaking the words that the big book teaches us, your shares don't belong here. It's mere common sense. Anything outside of what the big book teaches us is nothing but your opinion and is not welcome. So you should close your ears when you hear someone come up to this podium and not spread the word of what has saved millions. I'm not here to hear about your bad day or the hurt feelings you have for what your family member had to say. I'm here to hear the words from a book that has saved my life and hopefully yours. When he finally finished with his self-righteous sermon, I looked towards Mary's chair and she was no longer there, no doubt cast out by him and his fellow vermin. Was he trying to say her heartfelt share was an opinion? What do you think the big book is, you fucking minion? The purpose of this all in the beginning was beautiful. I'm not pissing on the history, it's the falsification some followers give it. It's the interpretation that I can't live with. The same way Catholicism shoved Christ down my throat, forcing me to give the Almighty Father my will, I will never do that. Mirrored the same way as the cult I grew up in, reflected that 60-something-year-old follower surrendering to Bill and not his addiction, which is the actual affliction. Or does he forget? So dear Anonymous, you can call me autonomous to your intentions, and the idea of it all was great. But don't let self-proclaimed, godlike leaders stand there and take your meaning away. With their so-called, all-knowing, power-hungry, narcissistic brains whose mouth can quote a few words I can read myself on any given day. Inspiration comes from shedding tears, not the memorization of a book or two over the years. And if this is what it's about, if this is what it's meant for, then I'll give up the floor. I'll show myself to the door and I will never look back. Instead, I'll search for more. Either way, I will always search for more. Recovery is connection, period. You can go out and connect to your little cliques. I'll go out and I'll connect to what always sticks. And that is love.